Well, let's move on to the Fighting Tigers of Louisiana State University. I mean, how can you not get excited for this?
That's right.
Oh, I hear. Where's the band? The band.
They're coming in behind you.
Where's that coming from?
The entire band is hanging out in the big helmet behind you.
This is how we do things in Louisiana.
That's
All right.
right. That's
I
right.
said we're going to talk about LSU on the podcast, and the band said we'll be there.
Band just showed up.
LSU comes into this season with Brian Kelly in his second year, exceeding expectations in year one. He's in his 20th year with a record of 179 and 76. Last year with the Tigers, 10-4 overall, 6-3 in the conference. Some big wins, the Alabama win, some very disappointing losses. A&M is one that comes to mind.
Yep.
Mike Denbrock returns as his offensive coordinator. The Tigers last year averaged 35 points a game, 453 yards of offense a game, and they come back with returning starting quarterback Jaden Daniels, who passed for 2,900 yards last year, 17 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 885 rushing yards. He led the team in rushing, 11 rushing TDs. So he was kind of a do-everything man on the offense, but at times he looked a little uncomfortable in the offense and rush things. So he's got a year under his belt in this system, and he's got some great receivers to throw to: Malik Neighbors and Kyron Lacey and Brian Thomas, a tight end and Mason Taylor, an offensive line that's gotten even better. And I'm just going to stop talking, Darren, because everybody knows I'm an LSU fan, so I'm going to say a lot. So give me your viewpoint as an outsider looking in.
Well, I tell you, to me, it is no secret that Jaden Daniels, that's the point of emphasis that you look at. I think he has the potential this year to put the team on his back and carry them. You know, he showed some inconsistency last year, just like you talked about, which is something you would expect first year in the offense. So having that year under your belt should eliminate a lot of that. And when you look at when they played Florida, Ole Miss, and Alabama, a very pivotal stretch in their last year's season. During that 3-game stretch, he put up 14 total touchdowns. So what he showed is, no matter how high the pressure is in the situation, I can get this done. I just got to get more comfortable in the system and get over the inconsistencies, which you would assume is the very thing that's happened, having that year under your belt, having a complete off season to do nothing but work in this system. And then when you look at the fact that they had, I believe it was 4 running backs that had 45 plus carries, and all 4 of them are back. Mm-hmm. So you've got guys in the backfield that, if they've got that kind of experience, not only can they run the ball, obviously, and are they trusted to run the ball and take care of the ball, but they can, if they were in the game that much to get that amount of carries, then they can also do things like pass block, which is enormously important, because that gives him security and keeps his feet from getting as jumpy as they did during the first part of the season last year. So I think he's obviously the very, very key component. And I think he has the potential to do incredible things and open the door for this offense to do incredible things.
He's put on a little bit of weight, and the offensive line is, I think, going to be stronger this year. That was an issue last year.
Yep.
On the other side of the ball, Matt House returns as the defensive coordinator. And, of course, the defense starts with phenomenal linebacker Harold Perkins, probably the best linebacker in the country. 8.5 sacks, 73 tackles last year. But he's got complemented. You've got guys like Greg Penn. You've got transfer Omar Spates from Oregon State coming over. Mason Smith, a game wrecker, is returning on the defensive line. Huge to go along with Mekhi Wingo. Mm-hmm. Jordan Jefferson's coming over from West Virginia. So I think the secondary is going to be much, much improved as well. So the challenge here is the expectations are so stinking high, not just in Baton Rouge, but all over the state of Louisiana.
Across the country. Yeah, and across the country, honestly.
So how does LSU play with that kind of pressure? Last year, they didn't really have the pressure. They surprised people, but this year, people are expecting it.
Yeah. And just to go back to defense, you mentioned Omar Spates. I hope people don't sleep on him. To have somebody set up anchor in the middle of your defense that is a 4-year starter. I know it was an Oregon State, and that's a different type of ball than LSU, but still somebody that's been looking at the offenses and trying to diagnose what's going on in real time for 4 years. You just can't put a price on that level of experience. So I think that's going to be a huge, huge piece that helps out the defense. And to me, going back to what you were talking about, that really is the $1 million question. Do you, because going into this game where number 5 is playing number 8, or whatever, that's, even though there was pressure last year because it was your first game and under a new head coach, there was so much talk about how far the program had gone down. But at the end of the day, the pressure was big inside the state and in Baton Rouge, but not a whole lot of people were paying attention because they didn't expect the kind of turnaround. The people that were paying attention to see what Brian Kelly could do, but not expecting, SEC West champions. Nobody was watching with that expectation. So now, with that expectation, I think they handle it. I think the second year in the system is going to give them a level of comfort. I think they handle it. Do they end up being SEC West champions again? I don't know about that because it's such a tough. That's really kind of up in the air. It's such a tough division, but I do think they're going to have another fantastic season.
Let's look at the schedule that they'll be facing. A monster matchup to start the year in Florida State. They will be traveling to Tallahassee for that one. Florida State's got an outstanding team, so that's going to be an early challenge. Looking down in September, they go to Starkville to play Mississippi State. They got Arkansas at home. They travel to Oxford to play Ole Miss. They've got Missouri at home. They travel to Missouri. I'm sorry.
Yep.
They've got Auburn at home. One game that concerns me, a trap game, is that October 21st game against Army. With the offense that Army runs, it's going to be different from anything they've seen all year.
Yep.
There's a tendency to sleep on a team like that. So we'll see how they do. Then they got an open day to prepare to travel to Tuscaloosa. If they win that game, Darren, I think they win the SEC West.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's the game that decides the SEC West. And for me, the 3 biggest things that stand out is the fact that you've got to go to Mississippi State, and you just don't even know what that really is going to look like. You've got to go to Ole Miss, and you've got to go to Alabama. That's tough. Those were things that helped them out last year. That's an immediate uphill. That's going to be a very difficult circumstance for all 3 of those games to be on the road.
They've got Florida at home. They've got A&M at home for their final game. Hopefully this year they actually show up for the A&M game.
Somebody will tell them that it's happening. You are playing a game. Hopefully.
So we will be watching to see how LSU deals with the pressure of those expectations.
Mm-hmm.